Hello and welcome to W.E.S.T.A.N.K Radio. That stands for Weekend Sports Talk and Knowledge. This is a weekly show where we debate sports topics. This week's topic is college football playoff and whether it was the right choice or not. We took a coin toss and I'm going first. I want to start off by talking about the committee and how there's only one female and an average age of 61 and only two ethnicities represented. This can show a lack of bias, a lack of variety of opinion within the committee, and its choices are going to be ineffective. Also, the semifinal bowls are the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl, and these are bad choices in my opinion because of number 7, number 6, number 13, number 9, number 12, and number 21. And those were the last teams to play in the Sugar Bowl. Also in the Rose Bowl, there's number 7 versus unranked, number 6 versus number 9, and number 7 versus number 2. Also leading us to wonder why the number 2 was in the Rose Bowl and not the BCS National Championship. On the committee, there is a member who's the University of Arkansas Athletic Director. Most of you probably know that. What you don't know is Arkansas has 3 upsets this year, leading us to believe that next year, the Athletic Director could be putting a push for his own team in the top 25 poll and maybe a run at the BCS Championship. There's also only one NCAA Executive Vice President on the board, wondering why we don't have more NCAA representatives. There's only one commissioner, which goes against what I believe should happen is the commissioners of the powerhouse, the top 5 conferences, ACC, SEC, etc., and maybe a commissioner of 2 minor conferences such as the Western Athletic or the Sun Belt, etc. This will be giving us equal representation. Also, to finish out the last slot to the 12-member committee would be members like who's already on, Archie Manning, or Andrew Luck's dad, who are members who are associated with football but not necessarily associated with the school. This would lead to less bias. That is the end of why I think.
Okay, so I think we both agree there has to be some kind of playoff system. We want the national championship settled on the field, not by the polls, okay? Now, I will say the BCS did one thing right that I like better than I like the people part, which is they used things like the computer rankings and strength of schedule to at least rank the teams. I agree with you in terms of getting the objective people involved. Things could go a little screwy. Why not just leave that part where it is? But you talk about typically an NFL style kind of piece, and I'm going to tell you that's way too many teams. You can't have more than 4 teams, and I'll tell you why. First of all, to have any kind of a playoff series that's longer than a 14 playoff, it's going to have to then extend at least 3 weeks. That means you have either 2 choices. You're going to have to either extend the bowl season at the end of the year, which then puts it into the middle of or not the middle, at least the beginning of an academic calendar. You don't want to have students then trying to straddle 2 different semesters when they're trying to figure out how to do this. And then you also are going to have problems with the only other choice, if you don't extend the season, then you have to shorten the regular season. So basically what you then do is you penalize all the other hundreds of football teams, or at least 100 plus football teams, that would be able, they have to play 2 fewer games because you'd have to start the whole playoff series, a little bit earlier. Again, I don't argue with your people part. Not sure about the bowl, and who can play. The choice of the bowls, I think, is fine because the right teams would be seated in the bowls. That's what this, part of this would actually help fix. I think the only last point I wanted to share before I kind of give you the chance to go back and respond again is, if you actually started having a playoff that was more than the 8, you start getting more to that whole, broader field, and we start saying we're only going to concentrate strictly on that main group, and I think that you start to lose, teams should be impressed with the fact that they qualify for the bowl, and the bowl season, even if you're not in the biggest bowl, it means something. Let's not turn all the rest of the bowls into the equivalent of the NIT for basketball and only having an NCAA tournament. Let's make sure that, yes, we're going to get to the championship, but all the bowls have some kind of value.
Okay, going back to what you said 100 plus football teams. What I was talking about was not necessarily NCAA division, both 1A and 1AA. I was talking about just the 1A conference.
Even within 1A conference, there's about 100 teams.
It's still not, because again, it's only 12 conferences, averaging 8 to 10 per team.
That would be 120. 12 times 10.
And the amount you were talking about was much more significant than that amount, especially since if I was talking about both divisions, we'd be talking about 1,000 plus teams, it looks like. So anyway, when you talk about the NFL style, they have what's called a wild card, which is why I suggested having a few representation of a conference such as the Western Athletic or the Mountain West, the idea is that you can give some of those minor teams a chance against the Power Five, which kind of defeats what everybody keeps saying is how, they're so unstoppable, they're only beating up on each other. Now you can see if they truly are or not.
Okay.
Going back to the academic standpoint of this, they chose to be a student athlete because they were told by somebody, yes, you can handle responsibilities. While they have a lighter schedule in the fall semester where they load up in the spring, colleges also offer summer colleges, which gives them a chance to work on their classes during the summer for 2-3 days a week, and also it gives you a chance for summer workouts. What's a better excuse to work out when you're already at the school for an academic purpose?
Okay, you don't need an excuse to work out. And let's go back for a second because, do you really think that Marshall deserves a better shot to get into the national championship picture than Auburn does this year?
That's why we extend the playoff.
Do you really think that? No.
I don't know. I am not in a position to decide.
There's no way that you should just go ahead and open it up. Now, I'll tell you what, if Marshall actually managed to schedule, and that's not their fault, teams won't play against them, but if Marshall can schedule a team that's even just somewhat higher than their regular conference, okay? And another thing, let's go ahead and I got to deal with the academic piece again. You talked about students being able to do this over the summer. Why do we have to put these additional demands? There's already students out there, I'm not saying I agree or disagree, but there's already students out there that say they should be paid to play in the sports for this kind of thing. Paid more than their college tuition.
Another topic for another week.
Maybe it is, but nonetheless, I'm going to tell you right now, you meet with a lot of resistance and able to say, okay, by the way, everybody else at your school, for 9 months out of the year, they're going to take their regular kind of schedules, but for 9 months out of the year, you football players are going to be really, really light, and we're going to give you full schedules over the summer. You guys don't get that kind of a break. Seriously? I don't see it happening.
Right, so college students are finding out for 9 months of the year that they are going to be there for 4 years trying to get their degree. They're there to work hard, and yet we find out that nearly 50% of the NCAA athletes in just football,
I'm sorry.
And we're talking about just football, you're not even extending that to a lot of other sports such as soccer, such as basketball. All of those people are already declaring after their sophomore or junior year, hoping that the NFL, the NBA, the MLS, or even other places outside of this country are their ticket to fame.
Well, and forget about the fact that the NFL is going to squash anything that gets close to any kind of rivalry for their playoff system, okay? When you're in the playoff season for the NFL, the only football you think about is NFL. They've got ahead and put everything in place to make sure that that's the case. So you're not even going to stretch out there. So the only thing you can do is shorten the season. And I don't want to punish teams like Duke or teams like these kind of, solid enough programs that you got all of a sudden reduce the number of games that they're playing, reduce then, in those cases, the revenue for those schools. There's no way they're going to buy into that.
Okay, let me talk real quick.
Only if it's real quick.
So for a regular and average college freshman schedule, they have 2 classes a day that are 2 hours, and then they have about 1 day where there's 3 classes.
What do you know about an average college freshman
I have a relative in college right now, and so she's your relative too. As that schedule rolls around, they fit practice schedules to be around that, and games are on the weekend. How do games affect your academic schedule? I get that you're only thinking about that, but you're also missing the part where
there are people in the world besides you think you should be studying a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay? They feel like they want to advance themselves in life. But I'll go ahead and let that part of it go.
Okay, so there's also the amount of people that have, the amount of schools that have breaks from early December until early January. That's their winter break. Give them time to
give them time. You're talking about just
give them time to go home. Give them time to go home and spend time with their family.
They don't do that now. If they're in bowl season, they don't do it now. A December 29 bowl, they don't go home over that holiday, dude.
Okay, and instead, what are they getting? They're getting a gift certificate of like $400 and some free gear, free athletic gear, free toys. Now, admittedly, there are some players who choose to give those away, but that's just the Good Samaritan in them.
You're making this up. You have a $400 gift. They told you they get $400. They would all be
Look it up. Look it up. But anyway, that's all the time we have for today. Let us know in the comment section below who you agree with and who you think won this debate. And let us know also what we should debate for next week. For W.E.S.T.A.N.K Radio, that's all we have this week.